Good morning, ladies and gentlemen out there in Warrior Nation. Today I am joined by the great and powerful Mr. Cecil Burch. I'll give you his brief bio so we can jump right into the show without wasting any freaking time. Cecil Burch is a Brazilian Jiu-jitsu black belt. He began training Brazilian Jiu-jitsu in 1989 and is currently, are you a third degree or fourth degree?
Yeah, I'm like 2 years overdue for getting my fourth degree. I
Okay.
just haven't bothered to push it.
Cecil Burch has been a martial artist and shooter for over 40 years. He has studied many different arts and has held numerous teaching credentials in several of them. Cecil travels extensively conducting seminars across the United States of America. I have attended one. They're freaking fantastic. Make sure you attend one as well as internationally. He has been featured presenter at many tactical and defensive oriented conferences and has worked extensively with law enforcement officers, federal air marshals, military special operations troops, and private civilians and citizens of this great nation. Cecil, good morning, my dear friend.
Good morning, dude. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, man. We are up on YouTube, and Freddie Merck is there. He is a coin number 800 out in beautiful Montana.
Nice.
King Bros 33.6 is on from Kentucky. Good morning, guys. Please like and hit that share button. Cecil has been kind enough to come back on the show. This is probably your fifth, sixth.
Yeah, something like that. I'm no TC Fuller.
No, I love that guy. He is phenomenal, man.
Did I tell you I got to meet him last year?
No, where
at Tom Gibbons had like a pistol symposium, like invited instructors, like a dialogue between instructors and stuff, and he was there, so we got to at least kind of talk a little bit, meet face to face. He's a good dude. I like him.
Oh, absolutely. He's top shelf human being, that's for sure. Hopefully he'll be on with us this morning. Let's just dive in, man. This is going to be kind of a free flow conversation. You've got your academy open now. Is it in Scottsdale, or where exactly is it?
It's actually a suburb called Anthem. It's pretty much the most northern suburb of Phoenix. It's like as you're heading towards northern Arizona, Flagstaff, the Grand Canyon, it's the last major suburb as you head up the freeway, the highway.
It's going north of Phoenix, or where?
Yep, okay. Straight north, like as north as a road will go.
Is this your second academy or your first?
Yeah. Well, yeah, my own. Yeah, I mean, I ran Meg's academy for 12 years, but this is my second one as either co-owner, or this one I'm just the solo owner.
What are some things now that it's your baby, you can do whatever you want, and not that Meg probably gave you too many rules as far as what you could and couldn't do running his place, but what have you found now as a single gym owner?
It's nice because if I want to experiment, I can. You know what I mean? If I want to kind of, well, how should I run the class this way? How should we do things? Should we make sparring in this situation? Do we do more positional rolling here? Do we do drilling for most of the class? It's probably something like that. It's also just how I approach it, right? Because the academy sort of is an extension of my attitude about everything.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was running Meg's, it was obviously his, and then my last academy, it was myself and my partner, and then it was both of us and how we both decided it was going to be. Whereas this one is like, this is me and sort of my approach. And I think a little bit, I mean, I'm 61 at this point, and I've been doing martial arts now. This is my 46th year doing martial arts, and I'm old and busted, right? Back, when we were young pups and we were doing martial arts in the 70s and 80s and 90s, we did stuff that we shouldn't have because it was the way it was done, right? Yep. It was, in sparring, I got my bell rung really hard, right? You see Tweety Bird. Well, that's not a concussion. This is how we thought, right? Sure. Concussion is like you're knocked out.
Right.
Well, no, that was a concussion.
Yeah.
That was the brain taking damage. And, if you got hurt, well, you push through it.
Yeah.
Right. And so now looking back, I'm like, man, all my injuries, anything that I suffer right now isn't really from damage that I'm doing right now. It's sort of like that last little thing, but it's 46 years have built up.
Yes.
And so now my focus is looking back is let's train functionally.
Hmm.
At times, let's push it and really train hard.
Yeah.
But how do we do this all the time and to be functional and all that kind of stuff, but not kill ourselves?
Yeah.
We're not 23-year-old meat eaters with
Right.
no responsibilities where we can do whatever dumb stuff that we want to do.
Yeah.
And so the academy is like, I want the academy culture to be that way. Yeah, we're doing functional training. It's not like we never spar or we're
Hmm.
doing katas or anything like that. But it's at what point do we push it?
Hmm.
Not 100% of the time. Let's find that right balance between let's train all the time where we're putting reps in, we're getting reps in, and we're getting really good reps, but we're not killing each other. So
Hmm.
I'd say that's probably. And then and my old academy, we were still doing it. My partner and I still had that attitude of like, we don't need to kill people,
Yeah.
right? But he's 17 years younger than me. So
Hmm.
so he's still he's he's just running into things now where his body's starting to betray him.
Yeah. Welcome to the
You know?
party.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, yeah, I know. This is listen to me now. I know I'm not the grumpy old man yelling at clouds. I'm
Mm.
the guy who's busted, and I don't want anybody else to follow in my footsteps.
I completely agree. Tony says that Trump just said the murderer's in custody. I
Oh,
saw
good.
that right before we jumped on. Of
Oh, I
course,
hadn't even looked.
yeah, man.
Good.
Um, so I think they're saying a family member may have turned him in or something
Good.
like that. Yeah, good. May the full weight of the justice system crush down on that guy's head.
Yeah. I love the Utah governor saying, "Hey, by the way, we got the death penalty." I'm like,
Yeah,
good on you, dude. Good on
amen.
you. Set the stage right from the get-go.
Yeah, this is an absolute test case. So, um, what are your thoughts about this Charlie Kirk thing? I mean, I know it's far afield, perhaps, but do you have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's really funny. Up through that Wednesday afternoon, I was getting pretty depressed to be perfectly honest.
Mhm.
After the Ukrainian
No.
woman's situation, not the murder itself. I mean, that sucks. That's awful. But violence happens. That's why we do what we do. That's the whole ethos of American Warrior Society. That's what I've been doing, right? But it was the reaction from the legacy media and the progressive left
Yeah.
of, first of all, not even wanting to talk about it. And then when they were forced to talk about it, the narrative was, no, oh, blah, blah, blah. It has nothing to do with the crime and the violence and the victim and stuff. It's, oh, this poor guy. And, oh, we don't want to be racist about stuff. And that just, there was never a thought or a word from these people about, here's a legal immigrant actually fleeing.
Yeah.
Not coming here for just want to move to be nicer and have a better country. They're getting away from a war.
Right.
And she does all this. Nothing, no word about that, right? Like we can't we have to be nice to illegal immigrants, but not this woman, right?
Right.
And I said that's kind of a little depressing. And then of course when this happened, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And then the immediate after effect where you start seeing all these I'm going to cuss, so just everybody
Sure.
close your ears, these goddamn dipshits out there celebrating it.
Yeah.
Right, the murder. Oh, here's a guy who's actually engaged in dialogue goes to where the other side live and tries to engage in dialogue, and he gets murdered.
Healthy, constructive, reasonable, respectful dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. He never yells. He never is insulting. He never attacks people. He's actually engages in
And he'll
dialogue.
challenge you on your beliefs. It's not like he's a Tweety bird. I mean, he'll push
No,
you, but your
but
point is valid.
he's only challenges you on stuff where there's an argument, not just, hey, you're triggering me, or these insipid ways of approaching it. He was, and he's murdered for it. And then these pieces of filth say these vile things about him. And I was getting really depressed. I was like, I've always been kind of an optimist, when people go, oh, we're going to break into civil war and go balkanization with us. And I was like, no, we're stronger than that. It's not going to happen. But I start thinking over the last couple of days, they're right.
Yeah.
Except then by about Wednesday evening, here's what you saw. And I started to switch in my mentality from depression to maybe hope, because what you saw is what we haven't seen in years. Is these people who are saying this crap in public on social media are getting penalized for it. Right? The Charlotte
losing their jobs.
A guy gets fired. Yeah. There's a local sports reporter here in Phoenix, covers the NBA, said crap, fired in 18 hours. You see, it's being constant now. People, teachers or all these people who are saying stuff, they're losing their jobs. The MSNBC commentator, of all places, MSNBC, where they say this stuff all the time, but the guy gets fired, not put on leave, not, we're going to investigate. It's he's gone off the show. Of all places, MSNBC does that. I mean, this kind of thing gives me a little bit of hope of that core part of America, right? There's the true middle America, right? The 50%, not the 25% on the far right, not the 25% on the left, but the core part of America. All they care, the underlying characteristic of an American is we want things to be fair. That's it. Just fair, right? Not equal and all that kind of stuff, but fair. And I think after Antifa, BLM riots, COVID lockdown, masking nonsense, the vaccine mandates, people being canceled, people being debanked, all that kind of stuff. It's all these little things. And where you saw that, I don't think that any of these firings would have happened in 2019 or 2020. I think the people in charge would have read it as, whatever. But I think there's this tipping point that's happened. And it feels, to me, it's concentrated between the Ukrainian woman being murdered and Charlie Kirk being murdered. And then the reaction, I think people are like, no, we have to be fair. And it's not murdering somebody who disagrees with you verbally. That we've crossed that line. It kind of feels to me, and I know this is going to be for especially younger people listening, this is going to feel really odd to say, but it feels very much like Martin Luther King's
100%. Absolutely.
Where you still had a significant chunk of the country kind of anti-civil rights. Not in a way of like, slavery, we need to make them slaves, but it was back then there was this attitude of like, oh, you just want extra stuff. You just want to be extra. Right. But then when they murdered this man, people are like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. And you saw this sea change in how people, again, that middle part of America, how they acted towards the world or how they saw the world. And to me, this feels that same way. I mean, I was pretty young back then. I was a kid, but I mean, I grew up in that aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this might be me being too hopeful and reading too much stuff into it, but it feels this way. And I sure would like that to be the case, where the conversation shifts a completely different way. Hopefully I'd like that to happen.
Yeah. I'll welcome some folks onto the show briefly. Matt is on from Tulsa. Good morning, Matt. We got Kyle on from the Philippines. Mark is on up there in Canada. Will Rhodes is on. His coin number 2269. If you want to find out if joining our self-preservation community is the right decision for you and your family, I highly encourage you in these bizarre times. Click the links in today's show notes. Take a free 14-day test drive and check out all of our self-defense training. Tony says the left has no platform. Violence is all they have when losing the argument. Certainly does seem that way. Yep. And Cruz is on. Good morning, brothers. Hope you're being safe up there in Rhode Island. I want to touch on a couple things you said. As a believer in Jesus Christ myself, the fact that he was a Christian, I think, to me, and of course I could be biased, has something to do with it. I truly believe that we are seeing evil in a lot of what's going on today, whether it's the young woman on the subway in Charlotte or what have you, because I look at the callous indifference of those that were sitting around her. And that shocks me almost as much as the brutal killing. I mean, those are some people are just mad dogs, man, and they just got to be put down. And that DeCarlos Brown is a mad dog. I mean, whether he's crazy or evil or both, I don't care. It doesn't matter why he did the evil act. And the only thing that was going to save that young woman in that moment on that subway was violence, swift violence. But of course, she was like a little lamb led to the slaughter. Yeah. What bothers me is, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because you and I, those in our community, we've been harping on it forever. Number one, they don't think like us. And number two, nobody's coming to rescue you. But even just providing her with some freaking emotional comfort, holding her hand and praying with her as she slips away, getting on 911 and calling someone, being a good witness, filming. I mean, nobody did shit. And that was the hard one, because that video, Cecil, of the aftermath really didn't come out until after Charlie was murdered, or assassinated, I should say. And then you see like the indifference. My God, man, you didn't even look at her like she was a person. You didn't even look at her like she was somebody's. I don't get emotional, but as a guy with two daughters and a granddaughter, man, I can't help but see my baby girls in this woman, and seeing her sitting on that damn place where she should have been safe and she wasn't. And the fellow human beings, the fellow travelers on that, took no interest in helping her. Man.
Nope. That's like I said, I'm seeing this and I'm getting depressed.
Yeah.
William,
I'm filled with rage, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah.
I'm depressed. I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a dangerous thing, right? To get emotional about this.
Yeah. But it's that, the rage is one thing, but the depression kicks in because I can't do anything about that.
Exactly. That's what I told my son yesterday. We're on the way to the gym, Cecil, and I said, I just want to freaking get somebody, I mean, because as a warrior like you and I, man, we have a set of skills that I'm happy to employ to protect people and do right in the world. But it's an ideology. Who am I going to go? Who would you and I go after?
Right.
Or anybody watch and listen? What would we do? What do we do
in this moment? And especially when it's like you said, it's okay. Let's say you can't. It would be too. We couldn't have interceded, maybe, or whatever. But man, you couldn't, after the fact, like you said, just be there for this woman. Just be there as a presence as she slips away. I mean, I don't know how anybody can watch that and have the indifference of this woman who was just going about her day. From everything that anybody's ever said, she's never really harmed another human being.
Yeah.
She's brutally attacked and then just has to die by herself in this cold public transport chair seat, and nobody can even just, be providing a physical touch just to let her know she's not alone as she goes. I mean, we talk about that as pet owners, right? You hear this thing of like, if you have to euthanize your pet for age or whatever, be there with them as they go.
Yeah.
Something that we should, as responsible people, do for our pets. And none of these people could even be bothered to do this for another human being.
Yeah.
Uh,
I talked about it yesterday. I was Walt interviewed me on his podcast. Yeah, great guy, man. We talked about you a little bit.
Okay.
Your ears were burning yesterday. But when my wife's mother was killed in a car crash in 2012, and this woman reached out to us. She found us and said, "Hey, just want to let you know, my husband came up on the wreck. He was the first one there. He called 911 as the ambulances were coming. He held your mother's hand and prayed with her. She slipped away." And I can't tell you how comforting that was to know she wasn't alone in that moment.
Yeah.
Another believer in Christ was there to comfort her and pray with her as her, as she passed. And to see that and the look of terror in her freaking face, man, I'll tell you, man, I don't have words. I'm just,
yeah. Like I said, those first few days of the week were just like, are we at that end point, as a civilization? And
how do we come back? How do we come back, Cecil?
Well, that was my thought was, do we deserve to come back? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If this is the logical end state of 5,000 years of human civilization, maybe we should go back to the apocalypse. You know what I mean? And then maybe we're starting to see it. Maybe because I think again with the Charlotte thing, you've got those idiot reactions of the politicians and the legacy media and all the scumbaggery that they always do. But again, I think the people are angry about this. People who aren't into our self-preservation lifestyle, just go about their lives, but they look at that and they go, "That's wrong. That shouldn't have happened. The situation shouldn't have happened. That woman shouldn't have died alone." All that kind of stuff, and I think you see that feeling start to happen, and I think it was just accelerated by Charlie Kirk's murder, especially. And here's where I think why both of them are so impactful is that because of the video, it's like we were there, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one thing to hear about somebody getting killed or attacked and maybe see the aftermath videos of whatever, but to see it happen within, if not live, within seconds.
Yeah.
I think the visceral impact of that, I think that's going to become apparent, down the road. It's going to be like people are angry about this because it's right there in their face. It's not a description. It's not it's not a written narrative of this woman dying alone, bleeding out. We see it. We see the terror and fear in her eyes. We saw Charlie Kirk, the bullet, enter. I mean, I think that's going to make such an impact on how people approach this that maybe, just maybe, there's a way to pull back from a lot of this horrific stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Well, you and me both, brother. Johnny says the Bible says that in the last days, people's hearts will wax cold. And they're definitely a cold-hearted society.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony says, reverse the races and that city would have burned to the frickin' ground. And he is, sadly, he is absolutely. And Guile says, we all feel it. It'd be great to go full Punisher mode on that stabber and the shooter. Yeah. Put that clown in front of me, buddy. or you or anybody watching and listening to us today, and I think we know what we would do.
Yeah, they could, drop them in my academy. I'll close the door.
Yeah.
I'll tape up over the windows, and if they can walk out under their own power, then they can go free. But
Yeah.
they're not going to
It
walk
ain't
out under
happening.
their own power. That ain't happening.
No, so let's do this, man. Let's take it back into the realm of someone without a martial arts background, and I'm going to assume that young girl on that train, she didn't appear to have skills. I have no idea. She could be the Ukrainian judo champ for all I know. I doubt it. What skills, mindset should they develop to improve their safety in a public space like that?
Well, William April always talked about that a lot. That was a lot of his lecture and discussion was about that kind of stuff. Just the fact that they don't think the way that you do.
Yeah.
And you've got to get that idea across. And your understanding of them is not needed by them for them to do what they want to do.
Correct.
And once you start to get that across, that there are mad dogs out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are evil people out there. There are people who,
they look like us.
What's that? Yeah.
They look like us. I mean, look at Ted Bundy. You cannot judge a book by its cover. There was that, the guy was a SWAT team commander, lieutenant in the police department. His wife was a school teacher. They were a beautiful, beautiful, white middle-class couple. And yet they were doing heinous shit with children. I mean, you cannot just look at that guy. Looks like Ted Bundy. Looks like that. He's a law student. Law student. They might look like us. They don't think like us. I'm sorry, TC. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I call you TC. Sorry, Cecil. Go ahead.
I'm not as fancy or as well dressed as TC is. So I can't live up to that. Well, it's William always hated, like, it's the typical thing in our community where we talk about people like that as monsters, as subhuman, as other, right? Mm-hmm. And William was like, you can't talk about them that way. They are human. They are people. And if we try to, the guy on the Charlotte train, if we try to act like there's something different, that will not allow you to be ready for the next time it happens. Because you think, we can spot others, right? But we can't, because they're not others. They're not wolves or coyotes or whatever. They are people. They're human. They just are dysfunctional as whatever. Maybe society made them that way. Maybe they come defective from the manufacturer. Who knows? We don't know. But you have to understand that it could be the guy that looks normal. And Ted Bundy, that's the perfect one, because he looks like a pretty, he looks like Christian Bale in, what was the movie where he's the murderer, the serial killer? American Psycho.
Yeah.
Right? Ted Bundy.
Dennis Rader. I just read about him, the BTK killer, man.
I was going to bring him up because he's like your average. He was a middle-class businessman, owned his own company and kind of stuff. And yet he did arguably he did worse, horrific type murders than even Ted Bundy did. Mm-hmm.
So I think you're talking to the mindset shift that somebody needs to have. But as far as that speaks to the mindset shift that the average person, be it the young Ukrainian girl or minding your children or whomever, need to develop to improve their personal safety.
Yeah.
What else can they do?
Man, I mean, I hate armchair quarterbacking too much, because then it seems like, like you get this answer and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not saying there's a perfect answer, but I think if you make that mindset shift of that some people out there think differently than you, then we don't get involved in our own tiny little world and pull in when we shouldn't. right? Like I'm in my house right now, locked up, got the alarm on. Right now, I can get on my cell phone, right? I can, I can play whatever game I want. I can scroll through stuff. I'm perfectly safe, right?
Mhm.
By the time anyone gets to me, they've got to kick down the door, the alarm goes off, and I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to defend myself. Even in my car, I can kind of do that too. I'm in my car driving and stuff. I got some time. But in that situation where you're in public like that, that's probably not the time to go inwards. That's the time that, yeah, and it's boring sometimes, right? Who wants to sit around on a subway and have to look for whatever the time of your trip, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever,
Mhm.
30 minutes, and you can't kind of
Mhm.
just go inward to your brain. You have to be kind of looking around and, oh man, it's another, I can't wait to get home.
Well, a
Blah,
lot of us
blah.
have work to do, man. I mean, I'm sending and receiving emails and texts. If I have a downtime, I'm like,
Yep.
I'm conducting business.
Yep. We just
I,
have to have that discipline
Mhm.
of when to do it and when not to.
It sounds like you're talking about the Cooper color codes. Like right now, you and I are
Yeah.
locked inside our castles
Yeah.
and we're kind of condition one, if you will. I'm
Yeah.
certainly wired into to having a conversation with you, paying attention to you.
Yeah.
But when I walk out that door, when you walk out that door between your home and your academy, it's condition yellow. I'm
You
searching for threats, not just human threats, but is something going to trip me? Did one of the kids leave a rake across the path? I mean,
watching
all those kind
traffic,
of things.
right? When you're
Yeah.
driving, right?
Yeah.
This is what's so funny about a lot of this kind of stuff. We already understand this stuff. We've already been taught this stuff, right? Every defensive driving training is essentially based on Cooper's color codes. If you think about it, right?
Mhm.
It's, hey, look down the road at oncoming traffic over this way. Look at the cross streets. Look at um, people coming out of parking lots. Look down the road. Don't be looking down at the radio. Don't be just looking at the hood of your car. We're
Mhm.
looking around. That's all that is condition yellow. That's all it is. And then, oh, look ahead. There's a lot of traffic up ahead and it's slowed down. Okay, maybe we go to condition orange, right?
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Well, all of us, or most of us, are going to be taught that when we're 15 years old,
Mhm. Mhm.
16, right? But yet somehow as we become adults, we only think about that in the car. We don't
Mhm.
think about it. Well, it's sort of general life. It's
Or, I find myself really dialing it up when I'm overseas. I don't know about you, or I'm in a strange place. Lisa and I, when we went to Italy a couple years ago, I was really like everything I'd read, Cecil, before I went. It's like, do whatever you want, just don't get on the Naples metro.
mm,
Just, if you want to take the train through Naples, fine, but do not get on the metro. And then the guy I was there with is like, yeah, we're gonna get on the metro. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? He's like, that's no big deal, bro. We get on this freaking thing, and there's no room to even get inside the train cars. So my wife and I, and my friend and his wife, were on in between the cars, and there's like 20 or 30 people. It's like on a freaking train in India. I mean, it's just third world shit. And so I get myself back in the corner and I've got one of those Vertex sling bags on.
mm,
I pull it up front so it's in between, so I've got it on my chest. I've got custody of it. I got my wife here and I've got glasses on so somebody can't see my face. And I'm just, kind of mean mugging people because beards are not common over there. So I'm trying to use every advantage of the white gringo on your fucking train. Um, and my friend is a pretty sizable fella too. And it turned out to be a nothing burger. But my point is like, you really got to amp it up. And it was like condition yellow on steroids. It wasn't condition yellow here in Cumberland County, Tennessee. It was, you know, but I think, and that's part of too, right, man? Maybe she felt really comfortable
mm.
in that subway at that moment. Maybe she had taken it every day home from work and it had been safe environment. And she felt once the door closes, I'm safe. And she was not.
Well, and the other thing to think about, it's public transport, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw some people, because of course some people always have to be like, well, that wouldn't have happened to me because of this and this is. No, okay, maybe. But how did it start? The guy stood up
Mhm.
behind her, right? Got the knife out. Now, you're on public transport. Do people stand up on public transport all the time?
All the time.
All the time. Why? Because they got to get off,
That's right.
right? You have no way, you have zero way of knowing that that guy who's now stood up in the seat behind you is
Mhm.
about to do something odd. This is not, where would it be? Ooh, I'm trying to think of a weird situation where somebody standing up behind you might be odd. I don't know right now. I can't think of something, but okay, in some
We're all
situations,
in those, but that's the thing. You're so right, man. Whether you're in an airplane, you're in a big cylinder with all these freaking people. And well, yeah, but you can't get a knife inside an airplane. Well, guess what, man? I could take my shoelaces off and garrote your ass from behind. You know what I mean? Don't think because I'm disarmed that I'm harmless.
yeah,
So the same thing. Even if the knife hadn't have been there, dude, he could have strangled that 100-pound woman in no time.
right.
Right?
And so saying, "Oh, I would have just," I was like, "No, you wouldn't have. Just stop it. Just stop it." It's there is a sense of normalcy on some of this kind of stuff. So just because somebody stood up behind you, that's not a signal, right? But that's where it goes back to what you said. The more, the more odd, the more complex the situation, the more our radar has to be tuned up.
Mhm.
If I'm sitting at a local coffee place that I've been to, okay, I know the area, right? It's the community I've grown up in. I'm used to the people. I'm kind of used to the vibe of stuff. If I'm on the subway in another city, or even in the city I'm used to, that's
Mhm.
different, right? Because there's so many. It's not the same people all the time. It's usually completely different. It could be super ritzy people. It could be poor people. It could be this. It could be families. It could be single, whatever. So that's where that radar has to be like, okay, because you can't just somebody stands up behind you. You can't go right.
Hell no.
That's just not realistic because you're going to be doing that all the time on an airplane. On anything, you're going to be doing that at a concert, at a movie theater. People are going to be
Yeah.
standing up behind you all the time. But if we're kind of sending out those sonar pings, right, just all the time, if somebody does stand up, you're just kind of like, hey, why are they standing up? Oh, are they getting off? But it goes back to that starting point of just understanding that the world is not as it is, right?
Mhm.
It's or sorry, the world is not as we want it to be. It is as it is,
Correct.
and then everything kind of follows from there. Obviously, oh yeah, have some hard skills and have this and do this. Sure, sure, but again, none of that's a guarantee, right? You could be the most physically fit person and best fighter, but if you switch off, it might be too late, right?
Yeah.
Because how fast did that happen? It wasn't like he starts yelling at her and there's this ongoing 30-second confrontation. It was he stood up and did it.
And everybody I've talked to that's been stabbed and everything I've read, it's like you're getting punched. I don't know that she knew she was stabbed, and I'll give her fellow passengers probably had no idea she was stabbed. And I love what Johnny King says here. It's so impactful. It's hard to rewire your brain for a culture that's devolving.
Yeah.
It's
That's
interesting.
that's what
Yeah,
it seems.
Brian is on from North Texas. Dr. Gordon Botson is on in Ohio. Of course, Guile says, people lose their awareness once they stick their phones and put in their earbuds. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Good
Yep.
luck with that.
Yep. I go.
Alan Kelly's
So
on.
my cardio is I go for a ruck. Right. I put the ruck vest on, 32-pound vest, and I go for a ruck. I used to run. I have never once run with an iPhone in or iPod back in the old days
Yeah,
with earbuds in. I don't do it.
hell no.
Would it help? Would it make the time pass better? 100%.
Mhm.
But that's the wrong time, because I'm out. I'm already physically debilitated.
Yep.
Right? I'm 30 minutes into a run. I'm not ready to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So I need all of that. So I've never listened to stuff. When I listen, it's at home or in the car, right? That's my podcast and music listening time, not when I'm out doing so, or if I'm lifting weights, right? Because now it's okay. I'm in an enclosed environment. But yeah, I just, out in public, don't put those goddamn earbuds in. I don't care.
Yeah, it may be the last thing you ever do. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess jiu-jitsu wouldn't have saved her life. I mean, what would have awareness and avoidance. And Tony says, awareness is the only thing that might have saved her life. She picked the worst seat on the train.
Yeah.
And it would have been better. The Marine Corps has a thing. Overseas, you have to have a Liberty buddy, because two Marines at least are rolling too deep. And if one guy's got his face in his phone, the other one should be 50% alert status at all times. And me and my wife are kind of like that. If we're at a restaurant, she's in her phone texting back to one of the kids, my head's up. Or if her head's up, my phone, I can check that beep I just got, because I got that little dopamine hit, like, oh, what's Seaclander want this time? But yeah, I think that I'm going to go back to something you said quite earlier ago, Cecil, and that is like, it feels like we're heading somewhere. I don't know if civil war is the right thing. We're going to have to see if the left takes some ownership for the rhetoric. And I look back at President Biden, his speech with the Marines flanked behind him, saying that MAGA Republicans were a threat to this nation. Those words, man. You're the commander in chief of the armed forces, and you've got the United States Marine Corps standing behind you at parade rest, like they're ready to spring. And you're yelling at every American that can listen, that MAGA Republicans are a threat to our democracy and our way of life.
Yeah.
And then you see a shooter kill Charlie Kirk, who's passing out President Trump hats, and you don't think there's a correlation and causation there at play there? Of course there is.
Words mean things.
Yeah, but what are we going to do about it? I guess, what can you and I, two self-defense guys, do about it?
I think the main thing, again, is mindset. Right? Try to get the idea of mindset across. And in this sense of, hey, maybe our rhetoric, the things we say, should be not non-confrontational. I'm not saying that, but can we approach it the way Charlie Kirk tried to approach it? Let's engage in dialogue in this. Let's talk. Let's not get ourselves too worked up, and we make the same mistake that the Prague left does, where, oh, you're hateful. Well, how am I hateful? Well, because you are. Oh, no. How? Right? Let's call a spade, but be very specific about it. And one of the things that's really interesting to me is, there are times when other communities, when somebody is killed, what follows? Riots, city burns down, right? Here's Charlie Kirk murdered. I didn't see any cars being burned. I didn't see any cops being attacked. I didn't see any riots.
My family came together in prayer. We hugged each other. And
I think that's a really interesting juxtaposition about this kind of stuff. And I think that's the kind of thing that we need to keep going and emphasizing. And again, when we use words, let's be very specific and clear on them. You and I had this discussion on the phone about stress inoculation, right? And
let's talk about that.
Why I got an issue with the term, right? And why I'm kind of the one who started in the communities to say this is not the right term. Well, it's because words mean things.
Right.
And especially as instructors,
Mm-hmm.
we have an obligation to provide clarity, because right, the students don't have the clarity. That's why they're coming to us.
Right.
It's our obligation, especially when we're talking about self-preservation, right, where the skills, mindset, all the stuff that we're trying to get across to people might very well be used by them, or sorry, might be needed by them to save their lives or the lives of their loved ones. So it's on us to make sure that we are as clear as possible. As instructors, we need to use words like a rapier, not a battle axe or a
Mm-hmm.
war, right? It's very specific. And so if a student misunderstands us,
Mm-hmm.
that's not their fault.
Yeah.
That's 100% the instructor. Because how can they can't automatically understand, because they're students. They don't know this. You can't just say, oh, what's one that drives me crazy? Oh, keep your booger hook off the trigger, right?
I hate that shit.
Right? It sounds awesome, and we can sound really cool by saying it, but a person who's never shot a gun before, what does that mean to them? How is that going to help them? There's no clarity there, right? So we have to be very specific. Hey, when you're not in the shooting cycle, keep your finger in a high register away from the trigger. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it. Now I know
Mm-hmm.
what you just said. I just said the same thing, two different ways. One, you could completely misunderstand and you have no idea. And the other was like, specific direction on how to conduct ourselves. Right. And that's what we need to do as instructors. But then I think that's what we need to do in life.
Yeah.
Right?
As fellow citizens. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The more we can be clear to each other in a non.
And Charlie was great at that. Just to bring it back to the thing. Yeah.
Which is why I think it's such a turning point, is because they murdered the guy who was not confrontational in an aggressive way. They murdered the guy who wanted to engage in dialogue.
Mm-hmm. And to your point, though, Cecil, this is something I always hammer on our firearms instructor development courses. It's not enough for you to be understood. You must seek to not be misunderstood.
Absolutely.
I don't want to say something and then you misunderstand it. That would be a failure on my part, and I think we're in violent agreement on that.
Yeah.
So whether we're teaching a class full of pipe hitters or we're teaching a bowling league that wants to be more safe and secure, we as instructors, and most of the folks watching this morning are, thank you to the 17 folks that are watching us live, we have to really communicate in a way that we're not only understood, we cannot be misunderstood. And these little euphemisms that the gun community or the Brazilian Jiu-jitsu community is filled with aren't always the right way to communicate to people.
100%. It's one of the things that, so I've been teaching since 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And I've treated it once. So we've talked about this before. I became a teacher reluctantly, right? I was too selfish. It was more about myself. But once I embraced teaching, once I realized I really dug it, I worked at it. And part of that was what you just said. I got to work at making sure that I can be understood, that I can get the idea across to everybody. Not just the other guy who's going to be like me and who's going to be on the mat 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week. Who's going to be training. Who's going to be absorbing this. The guy who's at the shooting range all the time, who's dry firing an hour a day, who's online commenting on other people's shootings. No. Okay. Yeah, we can communicate to him, but can we communicate to that person who's never done any of this before? And they had the guts to step into a seminar that I taught, that you were teaching, whether shooting, fighting, whatever. Mm-hmm. They've had the guts to step into that with no background. Can I communicate clearly to that person to where they can get something out of it? We have to do that.
I love what you're saying, bro, because the courage it takes. Like you, when you step into a mat space, that's home for you. That's your chapel. That's your
Yep.
church. You know,
Yep.
you're surrounded by your people. As grapplers, because we are in such close contact with our training partners, we love our training partners in a way that strikers cannot understand. There's a genuine community there. However, that person that this is their first time ever on a mat, they are freaking terrified. And we have to make them feel, or in the range, man. If they're stepping on that gravel for the first time, looking at all the brass casings around, it smells different. The gun is cold in my hand. I'm terrified. We have to create a welcome space for them now more so than ever, because the look around you, the fight is seemingly there. And of course, Tony says, you know, the man who just wants to be left alone. I posted that on our channel this morning, you know, and when that guy gets involved, the people like me and you that just want to be left alone, we just want to hug our grandkids, we want to train with our friends. You piss us off and get us moving, then you know you may not be able to put that genie back in the bottle. Of course, that's what Dr. Gordon Botson says. Tony certainly looks that way.
Yeah.
Because I don't. I'm settling into middle age very comfortably. I do not want to go down this road. So I pray that the left owns the violent rhetoric. The left gets out in front of this and it's like, whoa, this is not the party we are. We are not the party of hate and intolerance. I know it may appear that way. Let's pump the brakes. But see, I think they're leaderless, Dr. Full. Dr. Full, God damn. I think they're leader.
You have him on the show way too much for you
Yeah.
to start saying that stuff.
TC, we're going to have to break it up now. I think the left is somewhat leaderless. I mean, who speaks to them? It's obvious Donald Trump's a huge personality. So the right really has this giant charismatic figure, like him or hate him. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But who is that person that speaks for the left? And I'm not talking about the radical left. I'm talking about just the left. Is it Obama? Does he still have that clout? I mean, I don't know.
I don't think any of them do. I think that's the problem. I don't think there's somebody who can rein. There's one single person who can rein him in. I think you have a handful of people on the right. I mean, certainly Trump for sure, but I mean, even JD Vance, Marco Rubio, you got a couple people who can, you know, who can provide some kind of guidance, you know, for want of a better term, but I don't see it on the left. I did see this yesterday. This is really interesting to me. To your point, there's an online magazine, online news source that's super far left. And I'm not going to say the name because nobody needs to go there and read it because it's a piece of crap. But they put an article up, essentially an op-ed yesterday, where they started talking about the Charlie Kirk thing. And they were saying, listen, we have to be careful in how we talk about this. Yeah. And you have to remember, this is a super far left. This isn't even MSNBC level. This is way past that. They're going, we have to be careful how we talk about this, because if the rhetoric gets ramped up and the political violence gets ramped up, the left, and this is their terminology, the left is going to suffer. Yeah. And so there is at least some people on that side who realize that things, if they keep pushing this, that they're not in a great position to come out of this. Again, this is not 2019 anymore. Yeah. Right. Or 2020. This is not the kind of situation where they're going to come out of it the right way. So there's at least a few voices, but on the other hand, they got shellacked in the elections and none of them seem to have figured out what to do. Yeah, that's right. In the last, 9 months, 10 months since then. And so who knows if they figure this part out to it. And, and this is what drives me crazy. You don't even have to figure it out. Just be a human. That's all. Just be a human and all. If you just be a human, a decent human being, things will be okay on both sides, right? If we just accept that. But the problem is, this goes back to what we spent a lot of time discussing, is that there are people who refuse to be a decent human or who have a different understanding of what a decent human is. Yeah. Right. Well,
that's it, though. They've called them Nazis forever, Cecil. what would you and I give to get in a freaking time machine and kill Hitler in the cradle? You know what I mean? And just snuff his ass out. Well, guess what? When the left, and to Don's point here, Don says, is there even a left anymore? Lately, those we thought were moderates have fallen into line with the extremist
Yeah.
commentary. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's right. So that's
Yep.
my point. The left as a monolith, keep punch a Nazi, do this, do that, and they're this violent rhetoric. So
Yep.
if you're someone that's already a little unhinged or you have low IQ, low information, you're going to do something. You're going to. There's a great book. If you haven't read this book, I highly encourage it for everybody out there. It's called The True Believer by Eric Hoffer. And he talks about it's really thoughts on the nature of mass movement. So how do you mobilize people to do this kind of violence? That's what the book is about. And he studies all of it. It's written like in the 50s. Eisenhower made his entire cabinet read it. It's a fantastic book. It's highly relevant today. Please read it. But we have to be careful because the left will lose. And I had a gentleman on the show from the Worthy House who had written extensively on, I think it was either the Finnish Civil War, the Swedish Civil War, whatever, is early 20th century conflict. And the left started it. Same in his position is we're seeing the same thing because the left continued to do this with the rhetoric. And I want to say it was right-leaning fire brigades, so firemen, that ultimately took up arms and just destroyed that movement. Literally. Yeah. So there's historic parallels if you look for them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. If we think we're decent human beings, but we other the other side, that's how it's easy to throw people in the ovens. Because
I read a lot about like the Rwandan genocide because I just that's one that's amazing. I think the Nazis mechanized the killing. They dehumanized them, of course, with the rhetoric, and then we're just moving some Hungarian Jews, back over here to work at some munitions factories. And it's like, okay, we'll get on the train. And if you haven't read Night by Elie Wiesel, stop what you're doing, go turn this off, go get a copy of that and read it. But the 8 stages of genocide are alive and well, and don't think it cannot happen here. It can.
Well, you know what? I read a book years ago. It was on the death camps. And what was really interesting, I don't think people realize this. At the beginning of after the Nazis invaded Poland and they started to expand Lebensraum, living room, Hitler decided, so they'd already kind of been dealing with the Jews inside Greater Deutschland. But once they started to expand, they're like, we got to do something. So they started using SS units, and they called them Einsatzgruppen, basically death groups, right? And so what would happen is they'd go in, whatever, conquer something, and then the SS Einsatzgruppen groups would go in, and then they would line up X amount of whoever they decided to kill and shoot them. Well, what they found within like 6 months was that now we'd call it PTSD.
Yeah.
All these, and these
you're talking about the book No Ordinary Men or something like that?
Maybe I think that's maybe
the
name of it. Yeah. And so these are hardcore Nazis, but they're having problems killing the subjects.
Women and children.
Yeah, women and children. So that's when they came up with the gas ovens. Right. It was, we can't look them in the eye and shoot them, even though we're full on, we believe in it and they're subhumans and Hitler's right and blah, 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 blah. We can't do it. Okay, well, let's do it so we don't have to look them in the eye. We just send them into a room and then they die and we don't have to watch it and we just have to dig out the bodies. That's the origin of the death camps. It's not like they came up with some genius idea, right? The most efficient thing was what they were doing, the Einsatzgruppen. It's just, okay, here's these troops right behind the military troops, line them up, shoot them anyway. But they couldn't do it. Even when you're so into that stuff, it becomes too hard, too big a sacrifice. So you start coming up with these genocidal solutions to make it easier. Man, and you can see the ramping up, and okay, and it always starts with words. Sorry,
It starts with othering, yeah, and the Rwandan genocide. I guess what interests me there is there wasn't the Eitzensgruben or however you pronounce that. There were just neighbors picking up a machete and hacking their neighbor,
Yeah.
just killing them because they're cockroaches. The Tutsis are cockroaches.
Yep.
And I go back to the left with their rhetoric of, well, there are Nazis. I mean, we have to fight for the soul of this nation because we have these Nazis that are MAGA Republicans.
Yep.
You're talking about 70 something million Americans that voted for Donald Trump for the president, and they're calling my children that voted for President Trump Nazis. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So the language, they got to rein it in. And there was an opportunity to do that. Oh, look who's on. Cody Hudson is on.
Cody, right on.
Jiu-jitsu professor. He says, I see two proper gentlemen. Good morning, brother. I don't want to belabor the point. I think everybody, Solzhenitsyn once said, who wrote the Gulag Archipelago, if only there was some insidious evil person somewhere doing these evil things, and it was only up to us to go find them and kill them. But evil lies in the heart of every man.
Yep.
We have this duality in all of us.
Yep.
And we have to, I was at a loss for words because I knew that Walt was going to talk about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I was just so emotional about it. I'm like, I need help from my friends to give me. Is there a scripture I need to read? If, like I said, Marcus Aurelius, is there something I need to look at? Do I need to pray about it before I go in there? Because I need to temper my thoughts and actions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to, take this opportunity to just sling mud and be vicious, hateful. I want to be thoughtful like he was,
Yep. I mean, if we'd have done this show Wednesday afternoon, I'd be speaking very differently than I am right now.
Yeah, same. I don't know that I could spoke. And as you said, I didn't know Charlie Kirk, but I feel like I watched him in a lot of ways grow up. I had been following this kid who became Charlie Kirk when he had his little awkward stand at colleges, and he was struggling to find his footing in the world, and he was always saying the right thing. And you could see as he went along, he just became a juggernaut.
Yep.
He became more powerful, more influential, more eloquent, more thoughtful, more reasonable, more responsible with his words. And I watched the thing. There was a very strange looking woman that got up, and as people started laughing at her, he's like, guys, don't do that. It would have been easy to play to his audience and like, yeah, look at her. And he's like, oh, no, don't do that. Yes, ma'am. What would you like to say? This is your moment.
Exactly.
Like, man, that is a lesson for all of us. And he listened to her, didn't demean her. And guess what he did? He brought her around, showed her the illogic in her thought process.
Yep.
And as defenders, that's what we want to do. You talk about verbal de-escalation skills, my friend. Wow. Because people step up to that mic a lot of times hating this guy. And yet he is able to, or was able, I should say.
Well, it goes down to how we approach our dialogue with everything, even within our own community, right? You'll never hear me use the term FUD, or except in a joking manner with a friend or something, or boomer, or whatever stupid cutesy terms people come up with in the gun community to talk to other people in the gun community. Oh, you don't have a red dot. Well, you're not super cool. Oh, you're shooting a lever gun. You're not an AR. Oh, well, you're this. Oh, you're a revolver guy. You're that. Guys, why are we othering people who are already on our side?
Exactly.
Right? We are already under the gun, so to speak, from the world, right? Between people trying to push back on the very idea that we have the right to self-defense, right? Let alone using guns to do it. Why are we going to speak ill of ourselves within the community, right? Okay, you don't like jiu-jitsu, right? Somebody goes, I don't want to do that grappling stuff. I don't want to have sweaty dudes sweating on me, which I understand. I totally get that, because that's weird, right? In our heads. I don't know, something wrong with you and me, Rich, that we dig this. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to go, oh, well, you're a pussy.
Right.
Okay, cool. Well, what would you feel comfortable doing?
Right.
Oh, maybe some striking, some basic stuff. You know what? I'll find you a good Krav Maga gym. It's not my favorite, because I think a lot of Krav gyms, I think some of them are kind of McDojo-ish. There's some good
Mhm.
ones, but then there's a lot not so good. But hey, if that's what you can do or feel like doing, I'm going to do it. Right? I want to
Mhm.
help you. I don't want to attack you just because you don't want to do what I do. Oh, you think you need to carry a full-size gun with the red dot and a comp and a Snedig mag, and an X300 light on it all the time? Cool. Why am I going to make fun of you? Well, I don't understand. You know, uh, if we're already in this bubble, this self-preservation bubble, we shouldn't be talking ill about each other. Well, now let's just expand that, right? Why should I talk ill about somebody who, I've got family members, I've got friends who voted a different way. You know how I handled it? I talked to them,
Right.
right? Why'd you vote this way? Oh, you believe this? So we just had my mother-in-law passed away a couple weeks ago, and we just had her funeral, and a bunch of family members were in town, and a couple of them voted the other way. And I always known, they were on the other side of the political aisle. And we just spent like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just talking about, you know, how you feel about,
Mhm.
like, oh, this issue, right? I don't even want to get into what we were talking about, but I didn't go, oh, you idiot. Oh man, I didn't cut them off, right? I'm not going to be like, never talking to them. I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I think. What's a better ambassador? The guy screeching,
Right.
oh, you crazy far left person, or Charlie Kirk?
Right. And my grandfather, I remember, Cody is still on. It says I insert my jiu-jitsu dominance with direct eye contact. And Cody, I bought some mats when Cody shut down one of his schools. I bought some mats off of him, and just for Cody, I don't think he knows this. On Sundays at 1 o'clock, we have Fight Club here at the Brown Farm. So uh, some probation officers in the area, they come over,
Nice.
and we just focus on things that are appropriate for their line of work and some other
Nice.
family members. But it's a good time, and I think that's one of the things that we can do. Find an academy like Cody's or Cecil's. Start training. You're gonna be welcomed there. I can speak for both of these men. I've trained with them. I broke bread with them. I love them. And I would speak that way for 90% of the jiu-jitsu gyms out there.
Oh yeah.
Go in there and find a family, find a tribe that's
Yep.
going to take you and teach you and help you and train you. We need that in this world we live in. I'm getting emotional again. Because that to me is the legacy of Charlie and this young woman and any American that has lost their lives to extremism and violence in this country.
Yep.
Man,
You know,
get the training, find your community.
victims in 9/11,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? We, we kind of owe it to them too, right? That
Mhm.
just, we're 24 years out and a day from that. We kind of owe it to them. The victims of just ridiculous levels of rhetoric and violence
Mhm.
for no reason, that they didn't commit any of these harms that supposedly, justified these attacks. It's the same thing. That let's kind of honor that idea that that these people died. At least let's learn that lesson from it.
Yeah.
You know,
And Tony says, I think the 2028 ticket was going to be Vance Kirk. It probably was. And Dr. Gordon Botson's comment is fantastic. He says, how do we respond when friends, neighbors, family members say that Kirk was a Nazi and are happy he was killed? It's like, if I can't turn you, man, I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to pray that, and that's just really going to piss him off.
well,
That's all we could do, man. I'm going to pray for you.
Do what Charlie Kirk would have done. Ask him for specifics. How was he a Nazi?
Yeah.
Give me an example of a Nazi. And here's what's going to back. Well, he said hateful things. Well, what hateful things?
Yeah. What hateful things?
What specific did he say that was hateful? Was it hateful in how you believed, or was it hateful in how he said it? Those are not the same things.
Yeah, exactly.
One is a true hateful thing, and the other is how you react to the world, right? Which is that's not Nazi, right?
It's so, I mean, I've had you on here an hour and 10 minutes, and it's to have a jiu-jitsu legend like you come on and we
Don't
talk
call me a
about,
legend, dude. Don't
oh,
do
come
don't
on,
call
dude,
me a
you're,
legend.
you know who you are, and so does this community. What I'm getting at is, and we really didn't touch on jiu-jitsu, you know,
No.
we didn't
I mean,
talk.
we did in general, though. I mean, because
Yeah.
my belief is everything is jujitsu.
Yes, sir. That's right.
You know, how we approach things, how we deal with stuff. In jujitsu, we don't do this,
Right.
right? It's what's the least amount of force I need. No, I shouldn't say force. The least amount of energy I need to use to accomplish a positive goal.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's kind of what we were talking about.
True.
You know, what's the minimum energy I need to not get attacked on the subway? Right? That mindset and all that kind of stuff. That's jujitsu. So we have been talking about jujitsu.
Yeah, we just didn't know. I didn't know it. I want to go back to Dr. Gordon Botson's comment here because it's rattling in my head. We had a friend, had been a long-term friend since the 90s, and as my wife and I saw her become more radicalized in the mid 90s, she was someone that, you know, just a normal person. But the further she got into leftist ideology, I mean, I officiated her wedding, and
Oh,
you know, she was Jewish, and so I wore the yarmulke, stood under the chuppah, you know, did the whole thing for them. Of course, I'm not Jewish; I'm Southern Baptist, but the rabbi signed the seal, you know, signed the blessings or whatever it's called with them. But they wanted me to officiate. So this is the level of comfort and trust we had in each other. But as she slipped into that mind virus, to use Dr. Gad Sad's phraseology, I could not have a reasonable conversation with her. Used to, we'd sit around the fire with a glass of wine and we could throw ideas at each other, and there was mutual respect. And then it got to where she would scream at me. She would just yell, you know, she would try to talk over me. There was no mutual respect. And ultimately we just had to part ways, you know. There's nothing there, man. Your thoughts and feelings and this evil rhetoric that you want to spew and espouse, and that's what lives in your heart, man. I got to say a blessing for you and let you go.
yep, yep. It's how I approach debating online when we talk about self-preservation,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you come to me, you totally hate jujitsu, you don't think hand-to-hand stuff is needed, a gun's going to save you. Cool. As long as you're willing to listen to what I say, I'll listen to what you say, and we can dialogue. But the minute you just start just repeating the same crap over and over, and you're yelling, you know, in all caps or whatever you're going to do online, whatever, and you're not responding to what I'm saying, you're not open to listening, then I'm not going to engage in dialogue with you. It's just literally a waste of time. You know, I can't force you to engage in intellectual debate, right? If it's just going to be that screaming, then I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah. I'm as someone who has trained with you, I highly encourage you getting into, whether you travel to see Cecil at his academy, you find out where his seminar is. Please take advantage of this because you're a fantastic. I mean, not to blow sunshine up your skirt, but you're a fantastic instructor in the sense that we drill and we train, and then you'll sit down and have a moment of kind of Socratic irony. God, what did we learn from that drill? You know, you'll sit down and everybody kind of comes together, and it's not just wasting time with war stories, but in the moment of catching your breath, it's like, let's ruminate. What did we just accomplish there?
Yeah.
Why did we do the knee shield? You know, why was it necessary to do whatever? You know, and you could see the wheels start clicking, right?
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, Cecil, where can folks find you, follow you, train with you, brother?
Probably the easiest general is my website, iacombatives.com. I try to keep it updated. I've been pretty bad the last 2 years just because family medical issues and stuff. And I've been low on doing seminars. I probably, in the last 2 years, I've done the fewest seminars I've done and I've had to cancel a bunch because I couldn't travel
Yeah.
because I had to be a full-time caregiver. Um, Getting back to it and getting back in, and life, thank God, is doing pretty well at this point. And my family members recovered, so it's
Thank
good. So I'm back. So I'll try to keep it update, or you can look at me on Instagram or Facebook, Immediate Action Combatives. And I'm usually pretty good about posting stuff. I'm working on 26 right now and setting up my schedule. I'm actually even going to do a few things locally, which I've rarely done. So I'll probably have a couple either just hand-to-hand or live shooting stuff, in the Phoenix general area in 26 too. So, those are probably the best places to find, or just email me, cecil.burch@gmail.com. That's cool too.
Well, thanks for being on today, brother. I love the conversation. I always love the times that we get to talk together.
Absolutely. It's always fun, and I got a long ways to go to match TC's track record on the show. But
big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill.
Guys and gals out there in Warrior Nation, thank you for being with us this morning. Remember, the fight is coming. And if you want to train with us in person, we got a high-risk environment course coming up this fall in Tennessee. Check out Shooting-Performance for more details and find out if coming down here for a week in Tennessee and training with some of the finest instructors there are is the right decision for you guys. Stay safe. See you.